Hiya, welcome back to Green Hill Gaming, where I share my passion of video games with the whole wide world. This is part 3 of my Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater bonus content live stream. At the moment I am delving into this massive book called the Metal Gear Archive. This master book contains tons of information, and this live stream will be getting stuck into the section of the book titled The Explanation of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I think every game in the Metal Gear series should come with a book titled The Explanation of whatever game it is, because Metal Gear at the best of times can be a very complicated story to understand. But I love that story. Always have, always will. So look, this is not going to be the most exciting live stream in the world, because firstly it's not going to contain any gameplay, and it's going to be just me talking to this book. But look, if you love the sound of Johnny's voice, then this live stream is just for you. So I'm just going to share my live stream, so I'll be right back. And I know there are people out there that love the sound of my voice. I've been told this many times. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. So this bonus content, including this massive book called the Metal Gear Archive, aka the Master Book, is exclusive to Metal Gear Solid, the Master Collection. You won't get this book in any other version of Metal Gear Solid 3, so it's pretty cool. Okay, I'm just going to take a sip of my Club Orange. And let's get stuck into the first part. So this is described as this is commentary. Scene as depicted in Metal Gear Solid. Johnny needs to sneeze. Give me a moment. No? Do I? Okay. Serving as the origin story for the rest of the series, Metal Gear Solid 3 is packed with elements that foreshadow or flesh out later titles. The following section goes into detail about the game's features, important characters, keywords, and more. Oh, I love it, actually. I love this. I love this game in particular because, as I mentioned, this is the origin story of the Metal Gear series. You know, for such a complicated, comprehensive series that has different, branching story elements, and it can get quite complicated. It's so nice to be able to experience the origin of all of that. Okay. Metal Gear Solid 3's defining characteristics. A story that links real-world history with in-game history. And that, as I mentioned before, is one of the things about this game that I just love big time. Big time. This merging of real-world events with, a fictional video game story. Love it. Metal Gear Solid 3's world and story are based on real history, full of elements such as the deepening of the Cold War and the nuclear arms race that came with it, as well as other hallmarks of 1960s global affairs, including an increase in espionage activities. The two events in particular had a sizable impact on the game's story. The Soviet Union's launch of Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite, in 1957, and the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. Indeed, the fate of rocket scientist Sokolov ties these events together. The Soviet Union had succeeded in launching Sputnik. And then of course we have the Cuban Missile Crisis. This incident involved the Soviet Union's development of nuclear missiles in Cuba. In the game, the Soviet Union demands the United States return Sokolov to them in exchange for their withdrawal. The Soviet Union agrees to remove the missiles from Cuba. The Cold War. A conflict between the world's two superpowers beginning shortly after the end of World War II. This led to proxy wars across the globe as well as widespread espionage. A certain Soviet scientist requested asylum in the West. The evolution of the Cold War and nuclear weapons. The destructive power of nuclear weapons dwarfs that of conventional ones. During the Cold War, the nuclear arms race intensified, with devices becoming smaller or more powerful, their capabilities continuing to advance. Metal Gear Solid 3 features a new kind of weapon, known as the Shagohod, one with the terrifying ability to launch a nuclear missile from any terrain. I mean, that really is terrifying when you stop and think about it, isn't it? Okay. Adding the concept of camouflage to stealth gameplay. Metal Gear Solid 3 features a lot of natural environments and locations with no man-made cover. Enter the camouflage system, which enables Snake to disappear into his surroundings and better hide from the enemy. His camo index, or the degree to which it's hidden, can be increased by changing his uniform or face paint, or by lowering his stance to a crouched or prone position. Like the Metal Gear series is the absolute staple of stealth games, the stealth genre. We have game series like Hitman, for example, and we have games that incorporate stealth elements, like even the most recent Resident Evil 4 remake. You know, you can use stealth in that game as well. But Metal Gear is just a staple. It was supposed like it was the origin essentially of stealth games. So its gameplay is very, very unique because of that. So you're basically like, you're supposed to not be seen by your ultimate, like the ultimate way, not the ultimate, but the way that you should be playing this game is to basically avoid contact with every single enemy, of course, except the Cobra members, Volgin, and the boss. But you're supposed to be avoiding these soldiers, not going in guns blazing, or not trying to, be like the ultimate kind of, I'm going to sneak, stealth kill him, stealth kill that. You're supposed to just avoid contact. That's the whole point of Metal Gear. That's what makes the gameplay very, very unique. Using camo to blend into environments. The closer Snake's uniform and face paint are in appearance to the environment, the higher his camo index will be, making it harder for the enemy to spot him. Uniforms and face paint are two types of items that can be acquired in the game. Support items that fit the times. The solution, what the hell, whatever. Radar was developed in the 2000s, so naturally it doesn't appear in Metal Gear Solid 3. That's the regular radar that you would be used to in pretty much every Metal Gear game before Metal Gear Solid 3. In its place are sensors that fit with the 1960s, such as a motion detector and active sonar. Also the enemy radios in the game. Despite being state-of-the-art for the time, are large devices making it easier to utilise them. I completely forgot about that. In addition, not every soldier carries one. So soldiers will actually carry radios that you can actually destroy. I think you can do it in Metal Gear Solid 2 as well, actually. A Halo high altitude, low opening jump, which involves dropping from a high altitude and opening one's parachute at low altitude, is said to have been first performed in the 60s, but the one in Metal Gear Solid 3 takes place before that. Realistic survival gameplay incorporating hunger and injuries. This is a part I am looking forward to reading, because the injury and gameplay mechanic is something I really love about this game, and it really proves that this game was ahead of its time in many areas. It's just something else. So let's talk about this. One of Metal Gear Solid 3's themes is a jungle survival. In addition to the life gauge from previous entries, there is a new stamina gauge that gradually decreases if the player hasn't eaten in a while. Sorry. If Snake's stamina gets low, it becomes an impediment to his mission. His accuracy with firearms decreases, his life regenerates more slowly. Even his grip gauge, when hanging from ledges, is affected. To avoid this, Snake must capture plants and animals from the game's environments and consume them to recover stamina. He could also get injured or sick, which similarly has a negative impact on his mission. These status ailments can be treated by using the appropriate item or items from the survival viewer. You think they would have went into more detail with that, but it's very, you've seen it in my gameplay, but it's just so advanced and ahead of its time. You know, the way you're treating broken bones and gunshot wounds and burns, and you're using the correct medical items to treat them. It's just, it's a really cool mechanic, and I still think to this day it makes this game ahead of its time in many ways. Tie-ins with other companies' content, didn't realise that. From items like camo uniforms, magazines, and food to backgrounds, and even a mini-game. The hell? Metal Gear Solid 3 is filled with tie-ins to IP from Konami and other companies. And while these primarily served as additional ways to entertain the player, they were also a form of in-game advertising. Of course. You gotta love that. You gotta love the Mario and Yoshi figures that are in the beginning of Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes. Well, at the beginning when you're fighting Cyborg Ninja, but you gotta love that. I've got an itchy head today. I need a haircut. The real-life calorie-mate nutritional food appears in the game as an item that fully restores Snake's stamina, never goes bad. Actual magazines and other items can also be found throughout Metal Gear Solid 3. I didn't take notes for that first time round. And I'm guessing, I don't know much about bikes, to be honest with you, but I'm guessing that's a real bike brand. First appearance of CQC, Close Quarters Combat, in the series. What? Really? That's not exactly true. Wait, in the series? Wait, first appearance of CQC, Close Quarter Combat, in the series? In the timeline, maybe, but you could sneak up behind enemies in the original Metal Gear Solid and choke them out. You could punch them. So I was fighting Cyborg Ninja only a few hours ago in Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, which is a remake of Metal Gear Solid. That's good. What did I say? A gunfight isn't always the best option in a jungle environment or in close space. Sometimes hand-to-hand fighting can be advantageous too. Metal Gear Solid 3 marked the first title that CQC, Close Quarters Combat, appeared in the series. With a press of a button, the player can restrain an enemy. They can then throw them, choke them, knock them out, hold them up or kill them. QC will go on to repair. I think this is wrong. You read it wrong. Maybe in the timeline, but not in the, you could do CQC in other Metal Gear Solid games. Anyway, Snake overwhelms the enemy in one smooth motion. From there he can restrain or kill them. Sorry, enemy. Maybe this part here, but that's not CQC. Like, that's just like coming up behind the motherfucker and choking him out with a bucket and putting a knife away his throat and demanding answers. That ain't CQC. After restraining an enemy, Snake can perform a variety of other actions. CQC made a series debut. It didn't make it. Oh, this is pissing me off. This is pissing me off. CQC did not make its debut in Metal Gear Solid 3. Weird. As a quick way to neutralize the enemies with a knife and joint locks without using a gun. After an enemy has been restrained, they can be thrown, choked, interrogated, and more. Kinky. Sorry, I realise I've been using the word kinky a lot on my live streams. Compared to previous titles, it makes dealing with enemy threats much easier than out of ammo, for example. The boss talks about, Jesus Christ, the boss, you want to cut my hair? Because when your hair is long, it just gets more itchy. My hair isn't dirty or anything, it's just long, and I just don't like long hair. So I'm going to cut my hair. The boss talks about the true value of CQC. Over the radio, the boss talks about how CQC came into being and its work. The boss and Snake created CQC together for when a gun isn't the best solution. Snake employs it, for example, to neutralize the Ocelot unit, every member of which carries a gun. I'm actually enjoying reading this book. Last night I was like, oh my god, there's so much content to get through, but so look, I might as well make the most of the Master Collection because it's not exactly the most in-depth collection, is it? So yeah, I'll take what I can get. Absolutely. Metal Gear Solid 3's events and their connection to the future. This is really, really good now. I'm loving this part of the book. It's my favourite part of the book so far. And it's a pity that nobody's watching the live stream. But if there was a bit of gossip, juicy, thick, tender, Green Hill Gaming gossip, they want it all over their face. Sorry, I don't know what the fuck is actually wrong with me the last few days. But anyway, but it's true though. If I was sharing gossip, I'd have 6 viewers in my stream. Anyway, I'm only joking, never mind. So, a bipedal tank. Granin had been developing a bipedal tank that was the forerunner to Metal Gear, but the military brass preferred Sokolov's Shagohod, and Granin's project was shelved. However, Ocelot got hold of Granin's plans and brought them back to the United States, resulting in the birth of the Metal Gear units that would go on to terrorize the world. And that's something I spoke about a few streams back, and I love this because like Granin is basically the person who designed the original like plans for Metal Gear. He mightn't have designed Metal Gear Rex or Metal Gear Ray or anything like that, but he did create the designs for Metal Gear, and that is so fucking cool. Because see, he was pissed off that you know Russia decided to choose the Shagohod over his plans, so he was pissed off. So he actually leaked his plans to a guy in America who I think would end up I think it was either Ocelot's father or grandfather. I'm going to say father would make more sense timeline wise. I'd say father. And not Ocelot, and Olacon's father, I think, anyway. The boss's bandana, the infamous bandana. Snake's trademark bandana actually has its roots with the boss. During the Virtuous mission, Naked Snake grabs the boss's bandana from her head as she throws him from the bridge. He continues to wear it until Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, where he finally decides to put the boss behind him and throws it into a lake. Well, that's very sad. Just look at that bandana. Oh yeah, because she was kind of teasing him that he couldn't let go of her. And so we can only keep on hoping. Yeah. So he throws away the bandana. Becomes Big Boss. Using a handshake refusal as ID. At a ceremony where Snake is awarded the title of Big Boss, Snake ignores the CIA director when he tries to shake his hand. I love that moment. It's like, fuck you. You know? Fuck you. You know, I just killed my... What is the boss to Snake? Everything. You've taken away my everything. You've made me kill my everything. You've made me kill my very being. So fuck you, Mr. CIA Director. When he tries to shake his hand in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Snake recounts this incident to prove his identity. In that game, Snake, identifying himself as Big Boss, contacts the Pentagon to try to prevent nuclear war. He tells them about his refusal to shake the director's hand, something only those at the ceremony would know. Luckily, the chairman of the Giant Chiefs is on the call and witnessed the incident, enabling Big Boss's attempt at negotiating to move a step forward. No, it's the real Big Boss. Trust me. Because I was the army chief of staff back then, and I was standing right next to the... God, I make this tiny. When it happened, I saw everything. It began with the end's photosynthetic ability. What began? Oh yeah, because he's... I didn't even cop this. Oh my god, man. I mean, a couple of years, whatever it was, like a year and a half ago, whatever it was, I finally completed Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain, and I didn't really kind of get the connection between these two, and it's so funny because they're so similar. God almighty. The end's photosynthetic ability came from a type of parasite that had entered his body. The parasite would later be collected from his remains and studied, revealing that it allows its host to survive solely from sunlight and water. The driving force behind the research was Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain's code talker, who took this organism and turned it into the parasite known as the one that covers. You can't go changing the future like that. If the player doesn't continue after failing the mission, or if they kill someone like Ocelot who appears in the future, a time paradox occurs, resulting in a game over. I always enjoy that. I didn't know what the fucking time paradox was when I was 14, 15, whatever. But I knew like that killing Ocelot was gotta be like something that would fuck up, you know, the future timeline. Because, you know, he is in pretty much every other Metal Gear game after this. The future will be changed. You'll create a time paradox. Well, maybe it'll prevent all this fucking crazy shit that happened afterwards. Maybe that'll be a good thing, you know what I mean? Who was Big Boss? An icon after the death of the boss. After the boss's death, a new organization dedicated to carrying on her will. Well, an interpretation of her will, actually. An interpretation of her will. It would come to be known as the Patriots. Spearheaded by Zero, he elevated Naked Snake, Big Boss, as the organization's icon. After all, he was the boss's final apprentice and spent many years with her. Zero proceeded to build up Big Boss's legend and use it to recruit persons of influence. But Big Boss, hating being exploited like this, left the organization. Nevertheless, his status as an icon only grew, with mercenaries around the world revering him. You just got to identify these bastards. So we have... Well, obviously on the right is obviously Big Boss. That's Zero. That's Sigint. I think that is... Oh, what the hell is her name? Paramedic. On the far left I can't tell who the fuck that actually is, to be honest. Spark and friction between him and Big Boss, who resented playing puppet. I know, I wouldn't blame him. He just became a puppet, and it's not good. For Zero more than anyone else. In Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Snake's men addressed him as either Snake or Vic Boss. But upon deciding to move on from the boss, he chooses to call himself Big Boss. But no one call me Big Boss. CQC down the line. The boss created CQG alongside Snake. Ocelot picked up the art as well. Using it to defuse Eli, later Liquid Snake, Big Boss continued to teach CQC as Foxhound's commander, including to Solid Snake, but after Big Boss betrayed the unit, Snake decided he would no longer use the technique as techniques of a traitor. Look at little Liquid. Look at little Liquid Snake. Tell you one thing though. Don't let his youth deceive you, because he will kick your ass. Motherfucker's a 6-pack and he's like fucking 10. Jesus Christ, see that's why you shouldn't mess with Eli. Got old Snake using CQC there as well. Big Boss's fate altered by nuclear weapons. Big Boss was exposed to fallout during a hydrogen bomb test at Bikini Atoll, which left him infertile. Not quite. After the events of Metal Gear Solid 3, Big Boss is cloned, see, not quite, as part of Let's Enfants Terribles, and he ends up losing his life to one of those clones, Solid Snake. Snake. A woman who shaped the times, her life. Born to members of the Philosophers, a secret society made up of individuals from 3 global powers. The boss grew up to become a soldier, loyal to the United States throughout her career. In the end, her life is taken by her apprentice. At the moment of the boss's death, the white grass lilies turn red. In florography, the fuck kind of word is that? Grass lilies represent innocence. Well, this is interesting, timeline, because We need to see more of this character. We need to see an origin of this character. We need to see a game where you play as her in her like previous missions. You know, we need to see more about the philosophers. We need to see the origin of the boss play out over a series of games. So we don't know exactly when she was born, but she was born sometime in the 1920s. The boss is born in 1930 something. The last founding member of the philosophers dies. In 1939, World War II breaks out. In 1942 forms the Cobras, selecting soldiers from among Allied forces. In 1943, conceives a child with a sir who will become Ocelot. Fails the mission to assassinate Manhattan Project scientist John von Neumann. I think that actually might be Otacon's grandfather, I think. Her head is struck by a bullet and she enters a coma for 3 months. Interesting. A bit like Big Boss, he ends up in a coma as well, which is interesting. 1944, a year later, participates in the landings at Normandy with the other Cobras. Gives birth to Ocelot on the battlefield, but he is immediately taken away by the philosophers. Bastards. A year later, World War II comes to an end. 2 years later, the Cobra unit is disbanded. 3 years later, takes part in the Korean War. Jack, later Naked Snake, Big Boss, becomes her apprentice. See, even that can be like, why don't we see a Metal Gear game where it takes place during World War II, where the Cobra unit, you know, or even just before that? I mean, look, sorry enough for doing this, but I'm obsessed with the boss, and I want to see an origin series about the boss. I mean, it could start off with a massive cutscene showing the boss being born and the philosophers, and World War II breaks up, right? And the Cobras are selected. Okay? And it's eventually the Cobras, as well as the boss, that helped win World War II. There's just so much you could tell all of that. And then you could so basically the first half of the game could be the boss, playing as the boss, even the rest of the Cobra units, basically winning World War II, but from a Metal Gear taste perspective. You know how there is the series Wolfenstein, and that's about World War II, and that's about Nazis in Germany, but it's obviously completely rewritten with fiction in a way. But they do the same thing with this. Basically World War II in Metal Gear style. I just think that would be fantastic. And then, right, after World War II, in 1950, look, she took part in the Korean War, where Big Boss became her apprentice. So the two of them are basically in the Korean War. But obviously, this is happening while the philosophers are working in the background, and all these other big figures are working in the background as well. That's what I'm saying. A year later, involved in an atomic test in the Nevada desert, becoming exposed to massive amounts of radiation. 8 years later, participates in the Project Mercury, the first human spaceflight program in the United States. 2 years later, returns to Earth from an unofficial test spaceflight. An accident during retinally puts her in another coma for 6 months. A year later, forced by the philosophers to kill the Sorrow. I think that is where the game could be ended. So obviously that was part of the mission. So she goes after the Sorrow, and it's kind of very like Metal Gear Solid 3, where she's fighting the love of her life, and she has to kill him. And then of course, 2 years later, the Virtuous mission and Operation Snake Eater takes place. We need to see more of her, absolutely. An outstanding soldier. Sorry. See, this is what I was saying earlier. The boss commanded the Cobra unit during World War II. ultimately leading the Allies to victory. This is what we need to see in a game. We need to see an Origin series, an Origin Metal Gear series that's all about the boss. We've seen an Origin Metal Gear series about Big Boss, and we had games like Snake Eater, Portable Ops, Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, The Phantom Pain. You know, we've seen Big Boss's origin story. Now we need to see the boss's origin story. And like, you would basically be right in the middle of World War II. But told from like a Metal Gear perspective. What Metal Gear has always done, merging real life historical events with fictional, with Metal Gear events. That would just be a fantastic game. And you could play as the boss, the first time ever in Metal Gear, playing as a female character. That would make a lot of these woke people happy, wouldn't it? You know, empowering females. So yeah. And then obviously you could also play as the other Cobra units and use their unique abilities. It'd be a great game. Highly respected in the West, she is called Mother of the Special Forces. It could literally be called Metal Gear Mother, I think. While in the East, she is known as, I can't pronounce this, I'm going to say Warlord. She also came up with CQC as well as being accomplished in cultivating spy. She's beautiful too, isn't she? Okay. Her gun, the Patriot, packs quite a punch, but with that comes an incredible amount of recoil. Despite this, the boss was able to use it with one hand. Strength that comes from experience and an iron will. Loyalty to your country or loyalty to me. Spirit and body are like two sides of a single coin. They're the same thing. But you can't defeat me either. The boss imparts her wisdom and skills, hard earned through experience, to Snake. Her words, pregnant, what? I can't read that. And meaning can be heard during the virtuous mission. Zero's feelings towards the boss. Zero met the boss in the SAS, where he heard she had defected to the Soviet Union. He couldn't believe it. Later saying, as a comrade, I would have placed my trust in her before my own family. But didn't he know though that the defection was a ruse? Another side of the boss. I can still feel the pain creeping up inside me. The one who survives will inherit the title Big Boss. It's our only hope. The boss presents herself as the stoic soldier, but there is another side to her, one that is much more human, such as the time when on a mission, while pregnant, she chose to expose her head to injury in order to protect her stomach. Before their final battle, Snake quietly listens to her talk about her past and her feelings. She voices her emotion in this moment, telling Snake, I feel content. Having revealed everything, tears run down the boss's cheeks. That's quite emotional. But the Metal Gear can be quite an emotional game at the best of times. Feelings towards the boss. Make it Snake. You couldn't possibly understand. Strange love. It was the logical thing to do. I knew of only one person who could be entrusted with the fate of the entire human race. Snake and the boss lived and died together for 10 years. He tells Eva she couldn't possibly understand the kind of relationship they had. Sometimes there are relationships that come along that nobody can understand. They go beyond any other conventional relationship. And that's the relationship that Snake had with the boss. Strangelove, believing the boss to be the 20th century's most perfect human being, chose her as the model for her AI. The boss believed in leaving the world as it is. I often talk about this so many times, but that is her will. We are now going to hear about the will of the boss, and the will that would be misinterpreted throughout the entire Metal Gear series, leading to all the disastrous events, pain and suffering. It's absolutely unbelievable what a message, when a message gets interpreted, the dangers of that. We see that in the real world every day of the week by so many people. So many people. We see it in religion. We see it in politics. More so politics than any other area. And we just see it like with wars and just cultures and countries. It's just everything gets so misinterpreted. It's absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, the boss's will was misinterpreted through the entire series. Her will was simple. She believed in leaving the world as it is. Before I even read this, I mean, just think about that. Just leave people as they are. You know, the only thing that should govern the world, the only thing that should intervene in world affairs, people's affairs and everything else is a simple thing called morality. You're not going to find morality in the Bible or any other religious texts. Morality is not going to be written by pen on paper in a room full of powerful idiots. Morality can't be taught to you in any educational institution. Morality is the simple understanding of right and wrong. Not right and wrong from pen and paper, as I said, but right and wrong from inside of you. Yeah, just leave the world as it is. Let people be who they are. So I just couldn't, this game like connected to me in so many levels when I realised that was what the boss, the only person who understands the will of the boss is me. Nobody else understood the will of the boss. When the boss saw Earth from space during an unofficial test space flight, she realised the Earth itself has no boundaries. She then tells Snake, a world without communism or capitalism. That is the world I wanted to see. But the real world continually betrayed her, and ultimately her life came to an end at the hands of her most beloved apprentice, Snake. Both Big Boss and Zero had the utmost respect for the boss, but they interpreted her dying wish differently, and this triggered the conflict between them. It's amazing how I'm just so like on par with what's going on in the series. I've never been so connected to a series, probably as much as more than Resident Evil. I'm so in tune with this lore. It would be many years before that same apprentice understood what she really meant. It's about doing our best to leave the world the way it is. It's about respecting the will of others and believing in your own. Respect the will of others. Let people be who they want to be. If people in the East want to live a different life than you, respect that. Doesn't mean you have to go change your ways though. Look, I'm not going to get too deep here, but Christians and Muslims have been fighting for many years, and it has resulted in a lot of conflict and a lot of wars. And why? Why do Muslims have to be persecuted? Why do Christians have to be persecuted? Just leave them be who they are. So, if we take religion as an example of what the boss wanted to do, it would be about respecting the Muslim religion while respecting our own. And what that means is, I'm not going to go too deep, but that means that you don't have the right to go over to Muslim countries and tell Muslims how they should be living their life because you don't agree with their religion. But it also means that they don't have the right to impose their belief system onto ours. It is literally about doing our best to leave the world the way it is, respecting the will of others and believing in your own. That was the boss's will. I am saving this as a fucking screenshot, to be honest, because this is perfect. An AI that sacrificed itself. Peace Walker, a weapon run by an AI that was a recreation of the boss's personality, sank itself into a lake to prevent a nuclear war. It's probably because she pretty much sacrificed herself at the end of Snake Eater. Big Boss chose to live differently from the boss. The boss was loyal to her country and to herself until her dying breath. In contrast to this, Big Boss abandoned his country and chose to build a private military that belonged to no nation. So he took the boss's will as, oh, we should have a military world that belongs to no nation. Because he wasn't talking about just military boundaries in particular. He just meant to leave the world as it is. Zero, who attempted to control wills. He wanted to control people. Zero attempted to bring order to the world through unifying people's wills. The AI that inherited this wish of his operated in the shadows, manipulating countries and controlling populations through information. So he wanted to use information to get people to think a certain way, and to use that information to control the populations. And it's scary actually, because I mean, you don't have to look far in the real world to see that actually happening already. But it's so crazy how Big Boss wants to create this fucking this other world separate to Earth, separate to the world that we live in. That's just a big military world that belongs to no nation, and just go and fight and fight. Zero wants to control people, and all she wanted to do was to leave the world the way it is, while respecting the will of others and believing in your own. That's all she wanted to do. It was about the boss was American, her lover, the Sword, was Russian. Okay? She loved him. She would have loved his country. She would have she would have respected his country's politics and way of being. But also she would have been loyal to her country, America, and believing in the American dream and freedom and, capitalism or democracy or whatever. But along comes the Russian government, politics. Along comes the American government and their politics, and they say, well, you know what, your lover, the Tsar, well, he's your enemy because he's a communist, and you're meant to be a capitalist and you're American, so you got to kill him now. So she respected the will of the Tsar while believing in her own. That is what her will is. I don't interpret the boss's will. I understand and follow it. Eva, the woman who loved Snake, is the Chinese top 17 pistol. The real Adam never showed up at the meeting place. A double agent for China and the Soviet Union. Eva appeared before Snake during Operation Snake Eater as a KGB collaborator. However, she wasn't the real Eva. She was an imposter. In fact, she was a child of the remaining members of the Chinese branch of the Philosophers, and a spy belonging to the Chinese People's Liberation Army General Staff Headquarters, 2nd Division. What a title. This is why her weapon of choice was a Chinese pistol, and she employed the Chinese style of side grip shooting. Her real mission was to steal the fund that was the Philosopher's legacy and bring it back to China. However, the microfilm detailing the whereabouts of the legacy that she brought back was a fake, and Eva was expelled from China as a result. Oh, that's kind of sad, really. Fair. A massive cache of hidden wealth and reported to Beijing. Didn't go too well for you, Eva, did it? That's what you get for betraying Big Boss. The boss's messenger. When the boss rescues Eva during Operation Snake Eater, she reveals her true objective to her. The boss was once an instructor at a charm school set up by the Philosophers, the same kind of training facility that produced Eva. Keeping her promise to the boss, Eva delivered her final debriefing to Snake, allowing him to know the truth about her. And here she is in Metal Gear Solid 4, Big Mama. I'd love to play that game. I still haven't played Metal Gear Solid 4. Can you believe that? Like, that's crazy. Big Mama, the woman who gave birth to a hero. Or we could say gave birth to demons that would set the world on fire. Having been expelled from China after bringing back the fake microfilm, Eva joined the organisation that would become the Patriots. She later served as the surrogate mother for Les Invincibles, the project that cloned Big Boss, giving birth to the twins who grew up to become Solid and Liquid Snake. Eva simply wanted to bear the children of the man she loved. After Big Boss was taken prisoner by the Patriots, she became Big Mama, leader of the Paradise Lost Army, an anti-Patriot resistance group based in Eastern Europe, her goal being to free Big Boss. A juicy secret behind her medical records. Eva is injured in a motorcycle accident at one point during Operation Snake Eater. In this segment of the game, her profile can be accessed in the survivor viewers. Careful inspection of her medical records reveals she has had breast augmentation. Oh dear God. Big Boss's comrades change. Ocelot grows through his battles with Snake. Ocelot is young and capable, but also lacks experience, and he tastes defeat for the first time at the hands of Snake. His tendency about beating Snake soon turns into admiration, then respect, changing him in a big way. He even switches to revolvers because of Snake's advice. That man is in love with Snake. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Ocelot himself will let her use "you're pretty good," the phrase Snake directed at him. Ocelot remained loyal to Big Boss to the end. Ocelot was a spy for several organizations, but after meeting Big Boss, he fought for him instead. Even his later use of drugs and auto suggestion on himself to make it appear as though Liquid had taken over his mind was done to free Big Boss. That is pretty. Really, again, that's something I don't really recall too well. Even his later use of drugs and auto-suggestion on himself to make it appear as though Liquid had taken over his mind was done to free Big Boss. He idolized him. Ocelot speaks to Venom Snake like an equal, but Big Boss uses honorable language. be interesting to when you think of it. The subtle clues there, like. Zero breaks away. Zero and Big Boss ended up walking different paths. Zero got close to Big Boss, hoping to make use of his forces, but this only deepens the rift between them. Nevertheless, Zero always looked out for Big Boss, making sure he was hidden away at a safe hospital after he was seriously wounded. After the Patriots dissolved, with the passage of time, the two finally came face to face once more. Ultimately, Big Boss switched off Zero's life support equipment, ending the life of his former commander. It's crazy when Snake and Big Boss kind of come together because they look as old as each other. They look like brothers more than like father and son. Because like biologically they are like father and son, you know. But this is a fantastic moment. I think Metal Gear Solid, the story of Metal Gear Solid 4 should have taken place after Metal Gear Solid 3, if you ask me, because it's so iconic. Like, paramedic later Dr. Clark. Funny because he's mentioned as a male in Metal Gear Solid. Paramedic became a central figure in the Patriots, predecessor organization, and the driving force behind the Less Infants Terribles project. She would let you use Grey Fox, crazy than you fighting him earlier today. She would let you use Grey Fox as a test subject for researching soldier genes and gene therapy. He subsequently killed her after he was turned into the cyborg ninja. Ocelot tortured DARPA Chief Donald also known as Sigint to death. This is so cool. Sigint becomes the DARPA Chief. Sigint's real name was Donald Anderson, the DARPA Chief who Ocelot killed while torturing him, making it look like an accident. In 1965, Anderson transferred to ARPA, later DARPA, the Pentagon Research and Development Division, helping to launch ARPANET, the world's first packet switch network. He was also deeply involved with the later Patriots, helping to shift control of Cypher from Zero to an AI. Sokolov and weapons development. A brilliant scientist who contributed to the success of human space flight. Sokolov was originally involved with space rocket development, helping to make the Soviet Union's and mankind's first human spaceflight a success. After leaving rocket development, he moved into weapons development under the watchful eye of the KGB, but fearing the power of his own creations, he defected to the West by way of the Berlin Wall. Then came the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. In exchange for a withdrawal from Cuba, the Soviets demanded Sokolov be returned to them. The United States agreed, and Sokolov was once again forced to build a new type of weapon back in the Soviet Union. Sokolov isn't he the famous rocket scientist?
Please, it's essential that you decide, Shagahar.
The virtuous mission objective was Sokolov. Having gotten wind of the fact that Sokolov's new weapon is close to completion, the United States puts together an operation to get him out. This is the virtuous mission, Metal Gear Solid 3's prologue. Zero Special Forces Unit Fox executes the mission with Snake infiltrating Soviet territory alone. So it's a pretty in-depth book, as you can see. I will continue reading more, even though I am absolutely not exhausted, but just a bit tired from all this reading. And nobody is joining the live stream to give me a bit of a break and say, hello Johnny, how are you doing? But if I had a bit of gossip to share, you'd be all over the fucking live stream, wouldn't you? But anyway. Colonel Volgin and the group take Sokolov away. Snake slips through the KGB's security net on his approach to Sokolov, successfully extracting him from the building where he is being held. However, due to the boss's betrayal, the mission ends in failure and Sokolov is taken away by Colonel Volgin and the Soviet crew. The Shagohod, a nuclear-capable tank. The Shagohod was a weapon with a terrifying capability to launch an IRBM intermediate-range ballistic missile, making it impossible to strike anywhere in the United States from the Soviet Union. That's crazy. The name Shagohod means the treading of Behemoth, and its population came from the revolving drills mounted to its arms. Volgin planned to mass-produce Shagohod, but the prototype was destroyed by Snake. Where is my bottle of water? Here it is. Granin, a rival weapons developer. Granin was once the Soviet Union's leading weapons developer. He had been researching a bipedal nuclear-armed tank, but Sokolov's rise to prominence saw Volgin divert money from his project and development came to a halt. Though Granin would never complete his design himself, the concept would later threaten the world in the form of Metal Gear. Who are the philosophers and the patriots, secret rulers of the world? This is obviously like, you know, not Konami, but this is obviously Hideo Kojima's kind of like way of referencing, the obvious, like, secret powerful men and women who, control the world through their secret powerful hands. They have many names, and of course, like, one name that's very popular among the young people is the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye. Even though they do have like roots, going back like hundreds of years ago, but I mean, it's pretty obvious. You don't have to be an idiot, not to see that there is a very secret, powerful hand or hands, controlling world affairs. But anyway, this is Hideo Kojima's kind of like interpretation of that, the philosophers and the patriots. The philosophers, an organization made up of influential figures from global powers. The philosophers were born out of a secret society known as the Wise Men's Committee, formed in the early 20th century by rich and powerful minds. See, it's funny really, rich and powerful minds. Powerful minds, not quite so intelligent minds though. From the United States, post-revolution Russia and the Republic of China. During the Second World War, the philosophers worked together, pooling their enormous resources. However, after the death of the last founding member, the organization became a mere shell. The remaining members began to behave recklessly, acting only out of self-interest, with no regard for right and wrong. The boss's father was a member of the Wise Men's Committee. He was killed by the organization after revealing the truth to her. So like they're just like, it doesn't really go into detail about what they actually do, but it's just a secret society formed in the early 20th century by rich and powerful minds from the United States, post-revolution Russia and the Republic of China during the Second World War. The philosophers worked together, pouring the enormous resources. So basically their resources and money basically got put an end to World War II, you could say. But then after the death of the last founding member, they all fought amongst themselves, and things went to shit from there. The Philosopher's Legacy, a fund that also appears later on in the series. The Philosopher's Legacy was a vast fortune put together by the philosophers to secure victory for the Allied powers in World War II. Volgin's father was in charge of money laundering for their legacy, and after the war, he ensured the Soviet Union held it all. The microfilm detailing the legacy's whereabouts falls into the hands of the CIA. The boss gives Snake the microfilm that serves as a ledger of the philosopher's legacy. It subsequently ends up in the CIA's possession and later breeds further conflict. So that's why, you know, they're able to have the Metal Gear project in Metal Gear Solid and all that kind of shit, because of all the money that was handed over to them. Big Boss, Zero and others form a new organization through that funds. The Soviet Union once controlled all of the philosopher's legacy, but it ended up in the United States hands after Operation Snake Eater and other means. This money was used to build a new organization, later Cypher, led by Zero. Its other members were Big Boss, Paramedic, Sigint, Othelon and Eva. The organization was established in order to realise the boss's ideal of making the world one. How? How do you make the world one by leaving it alone? But little by little, Zero became consumed by a thirst for power. How is power anything to do with making the world one? And used as the group's icon, Big Boss's opposition to Zero grew ever stronger. It was around then that Zero used the massive funds contained in the Philosopher's Legacy. A clash over the boss's will and the birth of the Patriots. The last straw, as far as the antagonism between Zero and the Big Boss, was the less infant Cerebers. Zero's project to clone Big Boss. As a result of this, Big Boss left the organization and built his own private army. Skullface, Zero's second in command, was also disaffected due to his differing interpretation of the boss's will, and ended up injecting Zero with a parasite. Before it left him in a vegetative state, Zero transferred his will to an AI control system known as the Patriots, the same Patriots that would later plunge the world into chaos. Look at it. Three men's opposition over the boss's will. It's kind of confusing. Disagree about less infants terribles, breaks away and builds private army. Zero protects Big Boss after he falls into a coma. And so this is Zero to Big Boss. So they both disagree about less infants terribles, because Zero feels like we can create the perfect soldier. We can make sure that America is never threatened again. While I have my tea and crumpets. I don't know why I'm putting on an American accent for an English guy, but fuck it. But yeah, it's crazy, though. It's funny, though. It's funny more than anything else, though, to see the various misinterpretations of the Big Boss's will. It's such a simple will. Leave the world alone. It's not that hard, like. It's just not that hard. I mean, all she wanted to do is to leave the world as it is, respect the will of others, while believing in your own. It's not a very hard thing to understand, is it? Like, I don't think it is. You think, if I'm watching live stream, do you think it is? So Big Boss breaks away and builds a private army. Zero protects Big Boss after he falls into a coma. And these two then, Zero and Skullface, clash over different interpretations of the boss's will. It's so funny how I'm just so on par with the fucking lore of this game. I really am. I'm just like, most people think they understand the lore of this game, but they don't. They don't. They're just bandwagon fans. So this Kojima Sims infects Zero with a parasite, crippling him. Skullface destroys Mother Base in a surprise attack, and Big Boss is injured and slips into a coma. So I think I just skipped something by accident too. Oh no, I didn't. Why is it? It looks different now. Okay. Related Works Guide. Is this like another part of the... Yeah, come on, let's keep reading this. So we have Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence, which was released in 2005. Subsistence offered a range of changes and additions. One of these was the 3D camera, which allows players to move the camera using the controller, something that became a standard feature of subsequent entries. Other additions include new uniforms and face paints, and the European extreme difficulty, which resulted in an instant game over as spotted. Jesus. There was also a demo theater, allowing the player to view all cutscenes after completing the game. Metal Gear Online, the series' first online competitive mode, and boss duel mode, which lets the player fight the bosses in the game. You see, it's interesting, really, when you think of... So, Metal Gear Solid 3 HD, which is part of the Metal Gear Solid HD collection that came out in whenever it was, 2012 or something like that. That's the version that we get with the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection. Look, we don't get any updated version of Metal Gear Solid 3. We don't get any 4K versions. We don't get any inclusions whatsoever, apart from this bonus book here. We don't get anything else in terms of the game itself. You would think that, considering this game, the original Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence that came out in 2005, that had online play, you would think that they would bring that back on new servers. But no, they didn't. You would think it would have boss duel mode, which it doesn't. It just has the demo theater, I believe, and also the option to move around 3D. So yeah. Yeah, Metal Gear Online is born. Metal Gear Online took Metal Gear's signature gameplay online, allowing players to team up or go head to head. This was its first installment. Both Metal Gear Solid 4 and Metal Gear Solid 5 would include modes that were evolved versions of the same formula. So you think they would have brought back Metal Gear Online with Metal Gear Solid 3 in the Master Collection, but unfortunately they didn't. So here we have, it's funny talking about this, because, yeah, it came out in 2011 actually. So this is the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, which is basically what you get in Metal Gear Solid, the Master Collection. So basically, Metal Gear Solid, the Master Collection, it's actually worse. You get less in the Master Collection, because in the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, released in 2011, you got Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. You got Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, which I'm pretty sure was actually the substance version, but you also get Peace Walker as well. You also got Peace Walker, right? The Metal Gear Solid Master Collection just contains the HD versions of that HD collection, Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3. It doesn't contain Peace Walker. I know there's Volume 2 as well, like, but still. The Metal Gear Solid HD Collection offered graphically enhanced widescreen versions of Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 and Metal Gear Solid 3 Peace Walker in a single package. This collection featured the majority of the content added to the Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 Complete Editions. Demanding scenes could now be enjoyed at a stable frame rate. God help us. Look at that terrible fucking... Oh god. And the graphics were much crisper. And then we have... A lot of people would regard this version as the definitive version of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Let's read what it says. This was released in 2012, same year as the... the year later after the HD Collection. This remake... I never knew they considered this actually as a remake. But holy fuck, it's actually a remake. They actually consider it a remake. Hi, Nintendo haters! How do you feel? How do you feel that the remake of Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater were all fucking on Nintendo platforms first? Fuck that! This remake took the same beloved story and combined it with 3D visuals, as in like stereoscopic, glasses-free 3D, and touch features. The game's graphics were also enhanced, offering a more vivid experience, and fresh elements were added, including crouch walking. I fucking knew you could do that. I knew you could fucking do that. I was trying to do that, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I knew that. Over the shoulder aiming. I regret selling my Nintendo 3DS, I swear. And of course this game as well. This is the definitive version of Metal Gear Solid 3. And if you're a Nintendo hater, just suck on it. Suck on those facts. This book just keeps on going, so I'm going to keep on going along with it. Metal Gear Solid 3 character quotes and profiles. Metal Gear Solid 3 serves as the origin story of the entire series. Its narrative is replete with wills that carry on into the future and the suffering of characters who are in the mercy of the times. In this section, we'll highlight iconic dialogue and scenes from Metal Gear Solid 3 for each character. Snake. Snake is a hard-boiled individual, a man who carries on with his mission regardless of what turns it may take. That being said, even he has a playful side. But that was some fancy shooting, you're pretty good. Nearly every part of this gun has been expertly crafted and customized. Listen to me, Eva. We're doing this together, you dirty bastard. Snake worries about Eva after she gets injured. The reason I can't fly the wig by myself. Having learned the truth behind everything, Snake rejects the handshake. Knowing what Operation Snake Eater was really about, Snake refuses to shake the CIA director's hand and walks out of the ceremony. This scene ties into his later decision to abandon his country and build his own army. And rightfully fucking so. The boss. Who's sitting there? The boss is a battle-tested warrior, someone who has fought on the fields the world over. She speaks of her experiences and her wish for the future, as though entrusting it to her final apprentice, Snake. But the earth itself has no boundaries. Let's make this the greatest 10 minutes of our lives, Jack, you dirty bitch. Dear God. After a fierce battle, the boss loses to Snake. Lying on the ground, she mutters, "Kill me." Snake points her weapon at her, and the moment he pulls the trigger, the white flowers around her turn red in an extending radius. There's only room for one boss and one Snake. Eva. Eva links up with Snake a number of times as a KGB collaborator, doing all the things a good spy does, like using her charms and demonstrating her skill with a motorcycle. Alright, then I'll do something special for you. I'll stand watch until dawn. I'll be a good boy and lie down. Bitch. Uses her bike to give Ocelot a beatdown. Eva does a somersault on her motorcycle, striking Ocelot in the process and sending him running. I'll be your eyes from now on. Her story, her debriefing will endure only your heart. The one scene of the ending, a tape Eva recorded reveals to Snake both her true identity and the reason the boss did what he did. Her monologue lays bare the scenes The secrets the two women carried. Ocelot. Ocelot has a lot of iconic dialogue, from his confident displays to that final line where he reveals who he really is working for. And Ocelot never lets his prey escape. Reloading like this, it's a revolution. We'll meet again. Of course, I'm always at the CIA's disposal, Mr. Director. After the end credits, some surprise conversations involving Ocelot. Snake fought against him a number of times throughout the game, but it turns out he was actually a civil agent working for the GRU, the KGB, and the CIA. That's crazy when you think of it. Volgan, an arrogant, brutal man who enjoys tormenting the weak. He even fires a nuclear shell without hesitating. Yes, yes, let yourself go. Remember the animal, you fucking crazy bastard. Volgan climbs into the Shagohod for a battle to death. Volgan isn't scary merely because of his massive dick. Sorry, physique, or his ability to generate electricity. He also has a vindictive, jealous temperament. Granin, probably one of the most important characters in the Metal Gear series, because he literally designed Metal Gear. When people get tech, you know, he didn't actually develop Metal Gear, did he? No, he had the design. It's like if I have a seed to a tree and someone else plants it, then I still had that seed. Okay, that's a weird explanation. But anyway, doesn't matter. Developer of the forerunner to Metal Gear, see? He opens up to Snake about his troubles. And this magnificent Metal Gear will mark a revolutionary step forward in weapons development. And it did, because, you know, like, the majority of Metal Gear games has a Metal Gear. I wish to remain a hero of the great motherland. Well, he actually kind of did, because he brought so much like troubles to America with his designs for Metal Gear. So he kind of had the last laugh in the end for his country. Sokolov, a tragic figure who was a victim of the Cold War, forced to develop a weapon against his will, he too pours his heart out to Snake. It means he's a man of his word, so afraid he wets himself, a bit like Otacon. Ocelot's game of Russian roulette here. I can say one thing about Hideo Kojima. I don't know if he, like, I don't know like how we should view this, but he does recycle a lot of like ideas for characters. Like, it's probably like an intentional thing. Like, but like Sokolov is basically like to some extent Otacon. Although he does like dive not early, but he's not quite Otacon, but he's just pissing himself like and being like the guy who actually like designed the main thread of the game. It's probably similar to, you know, Otacon in Metal Gear Solid. Ocelot's game of Russian roulette scares him to death. All I wanted to do was build space rockets. Ah! Rykov. Use, holy shit. I don't remember seeing that. Or did I? I don't know. Volgan's lover. As he is known to be strange, Snake can behave erratically while disguised as Rykov and not raise any alarm. You see how people just didn't give two fucks that there was actually a gay relationship in Metal Gear Solid back in 2004. Did you see just how like there was LGBT representation, you know, two men in love with each other, you know, nobody gave a fuck. Nobody talked about it positively or negatively, nobody gave a shit. That's the way the world should be. Nobody gave a shit. Now it's like, oh, we have to highlight this. Or, oh, we have to hate this. I just think it's really interesting. Rykov has his clothes stolen by Snake and gets shoved into a locker where he gets where he bangs Rykov. Wearing nothing but his tongue. Will eat rotten food. If Snake leaves rotten food for Rykov, people pick it up and eat it, and then run off to the bathroom. I haven't done that before. I've got to try that sometime. The Cobra unit. The Cobras are as varied in appearance as they are in personality. The emotions that serve as the basis for their code names make their presence known in the dialogue as well. The pain. I will guide you to a world of anguish beyond your imagination. The fear. I see it. The fear. The end. I am here to send you to your ultimate fate. You will make a fine quarry for my final hunt. I have no regrets. I bet he regrets being bald, though. I bet he regrets, like, swapping his beard with his bald head. I mean, just picture it in your head. He'd be like, you know what I mean? He wouldn't have a beard, but at least he'd have hair on his bald head. Anyway, I can return to the forest at last. The fury. A great and terrible fury at being alive. The fires of hell will purge me clean. And the sorrow. Battle brings death, death brings sorrow. The shock and truth revealed after the battle. The battle with the sorrow unfolds in a long and narrow waterway. It is an unusual kind of encounter. It scores of the dead passing snake who makes his way up. In addition, in a radio call after the battle, Snake learned that Sokolov was killed by the boss. Sorry, killed by the boss 2 years prior. Dear God, this keeps going and going and going and going and going and going and going. It's pretty intensive, and this is pretty, like, expensive. But nonetheless, it's a hidden feature, so let's have a look at this. Like other titles in the series, Metal Gear Solid 3 is packed with Easter eggs. In this section, we'll introduce you to some of them. Special features. So first-person view secrets. Pressing the first-person view button during various cutscenes reveals all sorts of secrets shots. After the event where Snake is looking down through his binoculars from the mountains at Volgan torturing Granin, when the boss rides away on her white horse, press the first-person view button to see the Sorrow next to her. I did see that. After the events where Snake is looking down through his binoculars from the mountain, Ocelot strikes his trademark pose at Eva. Press the first-person view button to see Eva do it back to him. During the torture event, when Ocelot walks out of the room, press the first-person view button to see the boss do his pose at him. Bronzigrad. When Snake and Eva look at one another after attacking Volgan at the rail bridge, press the first-person view button to see the sorrow behind Eva. I did see that actually. After the battle with the boss, press the first-person view button when her white horse neighs to see the spirits of the boss and the sorrow. Ooh, I did not see that. That's pretty scary. During the ending, when Snake and the President are shaking hands, press the first-person view button while the President is standing in front of the window to see Ocelot outside the window striking the pose. That's fucking funny. He's always there, isn't he? During the ending where Snake salutes the grave, press the first-person view button to look at the grave through a teary eye. That is very in-depth. I did not know you could do that. That's pretty emotional, I would like to be quite honest with you. That's very emotional. Eva is dead. You created a paradox. I know the paradox is looking about all of this. But you can't change history. If you kill a character that plays a later role in the series. Oh no, we spoke of it. In the dark cave, Snake's eyes will gradually adjust to the lack of light to the point where he will be able to see without the help of a light source. throwing up in the survival viewers mode, spin snake around 10 times or more. And when you return to the game, he will throw up. I think I've done that before, actually, by accident. This consumes 1 bar of stamina, guys, but is handy. I think I've done that, actually, but it is purely by accident, guys. That's why it's done it. A link with the real world. After you save and quit the game, your life regenerates in real world time. The amount recovered varies depending on how much time passes between quitting and... Oh, that's what I did with the battle against the boss. I was wondering when my health went fully up. I was glad it went fully up. Food goes bad too, with the exception of preserved foods. Food goes bad in real world time. This counter continues to run both during gameplay and after saving and quitting the game. No wonder so. No wonder. The hell is that? The Phantom Snake. Most traps which can be obtained from, for example, Ocelot while he is unconscious, or from Lost La Past days, can be used to capture the legendary can be found in various places including Drenmochi and Fuck Off. And capturing it and completing the game without eating it will earn you the code name Fuck Off, and that's pronouncing that name. 7. Destroying armories and storehouses. Armories and provision storehouses can be destroyed by setting off TNT inside them. Destroying a storehouse will lower the stamina of soldiers in the area, making it easier to stun them. They will also go after food they find lying around. Destroying an armory will lower the frequency of the enemy's attacks and their offensive capabilities. Using grenades to exterminate crocodiles. Crocodiles can be a deadly threat. That is actually. If you encounter one underwater, it will be impossible to fight back. However, you can kill one in a single attack by throwing a grenade into its mouth. Keep in mind, when travelling along the water, that is fucking crazy. I did not know you could do that. Instant fire. I'm learning something with this game. Over 20 years after its release, that's crazy. Instant fire extinguisher. If Snake catches fire, you can put it out instantly by equipping a cardboard box or changing uniforms. Shagahad life down. If you kill the maintenance crew in the Shagahad's hangar before the battle when it begins, it starts to fight with less life. This only works if you kill the crew. Its life will not decrease if you merely... Oh, that's interesting. The Guy Savage minigame. If you save while in the prison cell, quit, then load back the game, you'll play a minigame called Guy Savage, based on a nightmare Snake has. In this black and white action game, you take control of a mysterious protagonist who must defeat waves of monsters. The game automatically ends after a certain amount of time and is followed by a scene back in the cell where Snake wakes up from a nightmare. That's pretty good. And there is more. Secret items. Meet special requirements when completing the game. The following secret items can be unlocked by playing the game in certain ways. Infinity face paint. Complete the game having captured the legendary Snake alive. Gives you unlimited ammo for your equipment weapons. Stealth camo. Shoot all 64 croutons. Or complete the game having earned alert mode 0 times. Camo index is always at 100%, though it becomes ineffective in alert mode. Single action army. In the wig, select the revolver on the right, and it will be your backpack from the next playthrough. Easy gun. Complete the game having captured all 44 types of food and the 4 types of medicinal plants. In addition to having unlimited triangles of ammo, it ensures your camo index is always at 80% and induces stamina recovery. It can also be found as part of your starting equipment on the very easy difficulty. Tape shot obtained by completing the game, an assault rifle with infinite ammo and no reload required. Tuxedo obtained by completing the game. Guns can still be used, but prevents the use of CQC. And that's what he looks like in his tuxedo. Boss camos. Defeating a boss by reducing the stamina gauge to 0 will earn you a special camo. And in the case of the end, a special weapon as well. Each item and its effect is as follows. So Ocelot Animal prevents Snake's hands from shaking while aiming a gun. Also prevents hands from shaking when hungry. The Pain, Hornet Stripes, keeps hornets, spiders and leeches away. I didn't know there was spiders or leeches in this game. When shooting down a hornet's nest, hornets follow Snake and attack enemies instead. The Fair Spider depletes stamina rapidly while worn, but maintains camo index at around 80%. If stamina draining effect is not cancelled out by the easy gun. The End, Moisen Nagant, a sniper rifle that fires tranquilizer rounds. That is actually in Metal Gear Solid 5. I fucking love it. Unlike items such as cameos, does not carry over to subsequent playthroughs. The End Moss, obtained by holding up the end and pointing a gun at his head 3 times. When worn, will restore stamina in any area with sunlight. The Fury, Fire. Half damage from fire and explosions, also prevents Snake from catching fire. The Sour Spirit, obtained by advancing to the very end of the battle with Sorb and touching his body. Prevent enemies from hearing Snake's footsteps and also restore stamina when choking an enemy in CQC. Vulcan Cold War, enemies will not shoot Snake when he is facing them, though they will shoot him from behind. The Boss Snake offers good camouflage. Camo index never goes below 15%. Boss fights. From Ocelot to the Cobras, Metal Gear Solid 3 is a cast of bosses full of memorable dialogue and behaviours. Performing certain actions will even what the hell kind of word is that? You click special reactions from them. This section goes into detail on some of them. Ocelot battle. Shooting down a hornet's nest will give Ocelot a scare. On the other hand, if the battle drags on, he will shoot down nests around Snake. That is actually pretty funny. I've often done that. Ocelot's bulletproof ferret. Shooting Ocelot's head will knock his bearer off, but he won't cause any damage. Ocelot will pick it up and put it back on and carry on the fight like nothing had happened. Wants a real gunfight. If you continually throw grenades at Ocelot, he will demand that Snake use a gun instead. Also, if you remain in hiding, Ocelot will taunt you. The Pain battle. Baltic Hornet's Nest. If you place a Baltic Hornet's Nest on the ground, some of the hornets released by the Pain when attacking will converge on it, turning it into a hive of Pain hornets. This can also be obtained by having a Battle Hornet's Nest equipped when the Pain sends the hornets to swarm Snake. Note that this special item does not come toward the completion requirement involving collecting all items. And it just keeps on going, doesn't it? Just about the battle, really. Whew. There is a lot in this book, as you can see. A lot. My days. I will be reading this all fucking night. But yeah, it's like this kind of, like, if you were buying this book, I'm guessing it would cost like anywhere between like 15 to 20 euro. The fair battle. Leaving the bolt in. If you don't remove the bolt that the fair initially hit Snake with, its effects will disappear, but you will become unable to remove it. If you don't like the look of it, don't forget to take it out. The fair's weaknesses. The fair will eat anything when hungry, even if it is rotten and poisonous. Throwing such food items to render him temporarily defenseless. Also, if he eats a spasta mushroom, king cobra or Taiwanese cobra, he will voice his displeasure. That's funny. The end battle. Shooting the end when he's in his wheelchair. After the cutscene outside the warehouse, you can actually snipe the end. Killing him here will skip the normal battle with him later on entirely. Even if you don't manage to kill him here, the damage he sustains will lower his life gauge for the boss battle. Using his parrot to find him. If you capture the end's little parrot, buddy, and then let him go, you can use his voice to locate the end. Alternatively, if you kill the parrot, the end will become enraged. If the parrot dies, he appears in his spirit form in the post-battle cutscene. I killed him by accident. Because he appeared. Croc camouflage. If you wear the croc cap and crawl through the river, the end will mistake you for a real crocodile. Dying from old age after quitting. If you save and quit during the battle for the end, and 8 or more days of real time passes, when you load the save, there will be a cutscene showing that the end has died. The game will treat the battle as being won, and Snake will continue on. However, if you load back in between 3 to 7 days have passed, the end will send you back to the cell. I wonder, would you be able to change the time in your system? Probably could. The Fury battle. Coward. If you use a grenade other than smoke during the battle, the Fury accuses Snake of fighting dirty, ripping his suit. Using a knife in CQC or firing a gun into Fury can rip through his fireproof suit, rendering him temporarily defenseless and increasing the amount of damage dealt by explosive weapons from that point on. Firefighting. Shoot the red pipes on the ceiling to punctuate them. The water release will extinguish any flames in the area. I did not realise that. The sword battle. Soldiers appear in the way that they die. During the battle with the sword, the soldiers Snake has killed up to this point will show up as ghosts. Their appearances will even change according to how they die. Soldiers that had their throats slit or had a vulture feast on their remains, for example, will show up in this manner. Ghost photos, a series staple. Take photos with the camera during the battle to capture pictures of development team members. Reduce completion time by dying. Besides touching the Pharaoh's body, you can also complete the battle by dying, such as drowning or having attacks reduce your life to 0 and then use the revival pill. That's pretty much the only way that I fucking did it, to be honest with you. The Vulcan battle. Focus on the battle. If you attack Ocelot, he will get mad at you. You can kill Ocelot if you continue to attack him, but this results in time paradox and consistently a game over. Vulcan's fear of frogs. What? Vulcan's fear of frogs. That's hilarious. Throwing a tree frog at Vulcan will cause him to recoil, providing an opening for you to attack. He will similarly falter if you wear the Ryback mask. Magic mushroom. Throw a Russian glow clap and it will absorb Vulcan's electrical attacks. Though the effect only lasts twice per mushroom. Weak for water. Shoot the pipes on the ceiling to drop water on the area, again causing Vulcan to falter and providing an opening. I mean, this right here, like, could even be the cover of what I was talking about earlier, like a Metal Gear like game centering around the boss and the Cobras. Like, the boss could be in the front, and even Snake beside her, as his apprentice, her apprentice later on in the story. The boss battle. Tricks don't work on a legend. Unlike other bosses, if you try to use the fake death pill, the boss will see right through it, immediately kicking you and pulling you to your feet. Secret technique CQC reversal. Press the punch button at the right moment and you control the big boss back with CQG. She will even praise you. The 3 snakes. 3 unique snakes appear in the area where the battle with the boss takes place. My guess is, I knew it. Their names are Solid, Liquid and Solid. I just knew it, 3 snakes. The same names as 3 snakes from the previous titles. The greatest 10 minutes of their lives. If you don't complete the battle against the boss within 10 minutes, the area is bombed and the game is over. And there's a pretty cool cutscene showing as well. Oh, look at this. I am not reading all that. I am not reading all that. That is too much information for one man to read in one go. So I will glance through that a bit like I glanced through like the kind of the timeline of the Metal Gear series. Okay. Nonetheless though, this is a bonus section, complete corrupting guide. This guide details where to find all 64 corruptings hidden throughout. Oh, that's the fucking. That just tells you where they are. There's no point in going through that. And look, I'm going to finish this book right now because all you'll see here basically is just a map. There's nothing. Oh, it shows where they are. So wait, what? Swim towards the base in a large street to the north and you come across the under. Okay. The base just tells you where they are on the map. I don't really care about that, but it's nice to know that you can have that as yeah. So we are almost at the end. Oh, we're at the end. That was massive. That was absolutely massive. There is a total of 128 pages. I just went 28 pages. I can't believe I actually went through all that. Well, there it is. That's going to do it for the live stream because I'm really tired now. But in the next live stream, I'm going to kind of show you a little bit of it's not like there's no. I'm not going to read all of it, but I will kind of show it nonetheless. Actually, fuck, I might do a short here because I'm not going to read this. This is just a script basically. There's no other way to put it. It's a script. I mean, if you want to read the script, you're welcome to do it. Like, I'll just jump forward here now and just say, boom. 0. Yes, he was taken back to the resource facility and forced to continue working on the weapon in question under KGB supervision. What's more, it's on the verge of completion. So, what kind of weapon is it? Something to do with space rockets? No. Missiles. Same technology. I guess you're right. We don't know the details, but it appears to be a new kind of nuclear threat. Blah, blah, blah. So that's basically like the entire script. Probably a bit of backstory as well, like taking advantage of a feature of real-time 3D cutscenes. Metal Gear Solid 3, like previous entries in the series, utilizes real-time 3D cutscenes for cinematic sequences. When possible, the player will be able to blah, blah, blah. So it just basically just goes into detail sometimes about various things. On the radio screen, Snake appears as a 3D model. Its silhouette there, lip flaps, nods, and other basic animations. Jack completes his parachute landing. It's a screenplay of Metal Gear Solid 3. I mean, if that's your thing, if you're like studying for like medias or whatever else, I don't know what I'm saying. But if this interests you, like it's fantastic that it's there, but it's just not something that I would take the time to read, you know. Again, it's completely Snake. Your presence in Soviet territory is already a violation of international law. We can't let the Kremlin find out that the CIA and the American government are involved. Contact with the enemy is strictly prohibited. Don't engage them in battle either. This is a stealth mission. Got that? The Major was right. The point of this mission is to stay after. So basically, you can have a bit of fun if you wanted to kind of, you know, do that. But so this is footnotes and cutscenes that utilize artwork by Yuji Shinwaka, character designer. This goes into detail. Gives you a bit of insight. Meeting Sokolov. Yeah, I'm not gonna like go into detail of that, but it's nice to know that it's there. If you wanted to kind of, if that was your thing, you know. I don't think it's my thing. It's just too much to read basically. But yeah, so that's the bonus content in Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. There's also like separate bonus content, you know, that I'll probably be exploring another time as well. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time on Green Hill Gaming.